banking stocks here, Société Générale in France and BNP Paribas in France, Santander in Spain, and both big banks in Germany, Deutsche and Commerzbank, are taking big losses today because if the Fed is more cautious on rates, on raising rates, then of course it's to the detriment of banks who stand to profit if rates rise.
Now, the Great American Eclipse is coming on August the 21st. Is this a phenomenon that interests the markets and market journalists like you? Is anyone making money on the solar eclipse?
You know, funny that you should ask this to me. I mean, I won't see the eclipse in the United States, but I remember when there was an eclipse here over Frankfurt, and luckily the sky was quite clear, so we were able to see that. And practically everybody who could leave their post here in the Frankfurt stock market, that was a number of years ago, went outside. And most of us had these special goggles that you need so you don't harm your eyes. And we were all fascinated by the spectacle. The birds suddenly went quiet. And I'm pretty sure that the people, wherever they are in the United States, will try to get a look at that as well. And I don't know if the people in Wall Street in New York have time to go outside. I suspect a lot of them will. Anybody making money on this? Sure. If you go to the website, the Great American Eclipse, they have a store where you can buy all sorts of things. And it goes from caps and T-shirts and sweaters to the goggles, of course, that you need, all the way to eclipse-themed organic wines.
Many thanks, Ulrich, for those updates, and we'll see you again tomorrow. We're moving on now. The National Corruption Survey published by Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics has shown that the private sector has a role to play in the country's level of corruption. The survey, which claims that over 400 billion naira was paid in bribes to public officials between June 2015 and June 2016, shows that the prevalence of bribery in the insurance sector is the highest by 6%. While private school is ranked 5.9%, the widespread presence of bribery is 3.7% among doctors in a private hospital. The survey ranks nurses as responsible for 3.3% of bribery in the private sector, while 1.9% of bank officials take bribe, with a prevalence rate of 2.1%. In the meantime, Nigeria's billionaire industrialist Aliko Dangote plans to invest between about $50 billion in the US and Europe by 2025. The investments are strategized to be channeled into industries including renewable energy and petrochemicals. The cement tycoon looks to execute the diversification from 2020 after completing an almost $5 billion agriculture project and an $11 billion oil refinery in Nigeria. Dangote's diversification project has spanned various geographical and industrial areas in the last 5 years, with Dangote Cement accounting for almost 80% of his wealth. In the meantime, the United States has asked Nigeria to step up efforts at diversifying from oil to benefit more from the African Growth and Opportunity Act. This message was delivered through the Director, African Media Regional Hub, U.S. State Department, Mr. Brian Norbert, in an exclusive interview with Channels Television.
This year, Togo was the host, did an extraordinary job of bringing together United States officials with counterparts from the 38 sub-Saharan African countries who are eligible. Last year, African exports, non-oil exports to the United States under AGOA were $4.2 billion. That's good as a start, but everyone, American and African officials, agreed the potential is much greater. And so the official meetings, the private sector and civil society meetings in Lomé last week focused on how to maximize the potential of AGOA to spur economic development and industrialization in Africa between now and 2025 when AGOA runs out. One of the things that was addressed, as you mentioned, 2015, the AGOA legislation was extended for 10 years, so that gives quite a bit of predictability. And since AGOA was first passed in 2000, it has not always been as predictable. And African leaders, including our hosts in Togo, made clear in the meetings last week that African entrepreneurs in a number of markets we're not quite ready in 2000 to take full advantage. Throughout AGOA's early history, much of the dollar value was in oil exports from a few big oil exporting countries, including Nigeria. Of course, the United States is now mostly energy independent thanks to the technology of fracking. So AGOA is much less an oil story, but what it should be, in particular in Nigeria, is a tool for economic diversification. And that has happened, again, with $4.2 billion in non-oil exports. But Nigeria alone could match or exceed that number if entrepreneurs were accompanied, encouraged, given information on logistics and on the requirements to access the U.S. market. Under AGOA, the door is open for the United States market. What we discussed last week was how to help more and more entrepreneurs and investors in Africa walk through that door, access the market in order to create many more jobs in Africa. AGOA has been and continues to be the cornerstone of U.S. economic engagement in Africa. I would highlight the United States. The head of the delegation was Ambassador Lighthizer. He is the U.S. trade representative for the United States government, for the Trump administration. To put that in context, he is the United States' top trade negotiator. This is an official who is very busy with an enormous responsibility. For him to spend 2 days in Lomé in countless official meetings, plenary meetings, bilateral meetings with his African counterparts, I think demonstrates a very strong commitment to continue to trade in Africa. The theme was prosperity through trade. Certainly American companies want to export to Africa to participate in modernizing economies. They already are doing so. Many American businesses are interested in exporting to Africa and investing in Africa. And obviously, our goal is for African entrepreneurs and enterprises to be able to create more jobs and export to the United States. It's very clearly a win-win. Even though AGOA is a one-way program, we don't get anything official in terms of access to markets, although in the spirit of the agreement, we hope to have some market access. But this is primarily a one-way program that benefits the 38 eligible African countries and allows them to export to the United States. And that commitment through 2025 has been demonstrated to be held by the Trump administration, which is very positive to complement all of the other things the United States does in Africa.
That was the Director, African Media Regional Hub, U.S. State Department, Mr. Brian Nabbit. Business Incorporated returns in just a moment. Please stay with us.